Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a 2,000-year-old Buddhist story about a sacred gathering that comes to a complete standstill. And the reason why? A teacher's deliberate and very powerful silence.
So this question is really at the heart of the story. I mean, just picture it. The Buddha's there with his whole assembly of monks. Everyone's ready, waiting for the teaching to begin, and he says absolutely nothing. It's this silence that really cranks up the tension and drives the entire story forward.
All right, let's set the scene. We're at a special fortnightly ceremony, a time for the whole community to get together, reaffirm their vows, and listen to the teachings. And the Buddha himself is there, right in the middle of all his followers.
So everyone is seated, waiting. The moon's out. They're all expecting the Buddha to start speaking any second now to begin the ceremony. But he just sits there, perfectly still and perfectly silent. You can just feel the quiet anticipation slowly turning into confusion.
As the night goes on, that silence starts to become almost unbearable for some. One monk, getting more and more anxious, actually stands up 3 separate times. First early in the night, then again at midnight, practically yelling, "Half the night is gone," and then one last desperate plea right before dawn. And each time, he gets nothing but that same deep silence. You can imagine the tension in that hall, just going through the roof.
Finally, as the sky starts to get light, the Buddha speaks. But it's not the teaching they were all waiting for. No, it's a pretty shocking revelation that suddenly makes everything make sense.
He says, "There is an impure one among my assembly of monks." And bam, just like that, the silence is explained. The purity of the gathering, the very thing that makes the ceremony possible, has been compromised. The presence of just one insincere, corrupt person has brought the whole thing to a halt.
So at this point, one of the Buddha's main disciples, the Venerable Mahāmaudgalyāyana, gets it. He realizes what has to be done. The integrity of the whole group is on the line.
Now pay close attention to what happens here. Mahāmaudgalyāyana doesn't start an investigation. He doesn't start pointing fingers or asking questions. He uses his deep meditative insight to literally look into the hearts and minds of everyone in the room to find the source of this impurity.
And he finds him. The story describes it as this quick, decisive action. He identifies the guy, walks straight up to him, grabs him by the arm, and just physically leads him right out of the hall, shutting the door firmly behind him. There's no argument, no hesitation, it's just done.
And his final words are sharp. "Go, you foolish man." This isn't just name-calling, it's a really clear final statement. It's basically saying, your act is up, and this community is now whole again.
Okay, so with the impure member gone, the assembly is finally pure. And now, the Buddha begins to teach. And he breaks it all down using these incredible analogies to explain exactly why that expulsion was so important for the community's health.
His first analogy is all about farming, a field of wheat. He says the community of sincere monks, that's the healthy crop. But hiding among them is a weed, an impure person who might look the part, but is actually destructive and doesn't belong.
So here's the key takeaway. A good farmer doesn't just put up with the weed. He pulls it out and throws it away to save the rest of the harvest. And in the exact same way, the community had to remove that corrupting influence to protect itself.
Next, he compares the community to a big pile of grain after it's been harvested. The sincere members in the real teachings, they're the heavy, valuable kernels. But that impure person is like the chaff, light, empty, totally without substance.
This is such a great image. It shows how a community has to be discerning. When the wind of truth and real scrutiny blows through, all the light, empty chaff just gets blown away. And what's left is only what's solid and real. The community itself has to be that wind.
For his last analogy, the Buddha brings up a woodcutter who's looking for strong timber to build an aqueduct. Something that has to be really solid to channel water. The community is like a forest of these strong, healthy trees.
But the impure person, they're like a tree that looks okay on the outside, but is totally rotten on the inside. A skilled woodcutter would just tap it once and know instantly that it's decayed, that it's useless, and that it can't be part of anything strong and vital.
So the Buddha then pulls all of these ideas together in a final verse. And this isn't just a simple summary, it's really a timeless lesson for any group that wants to stick to its purpose and protect its integrity.
The message here is crystal clear. To keep a community healthy, you need what we just saw in the story. You need the insight to see what's corrupting, the wisdom to separate from it,
and then the courage to actually remove it. The whole point is to create a space where genuine good things can grow.
And that really leaves us with a tough question, doesn't it? Whether we're talking about protecting the culture at a startup, keeping high standards in a creative team, or even managing a healthy online community. This 2,000-year-old story is a powerful reminder of that tricky balance between the health of the group and the fate of one person. It really is a timeless problem.